The second stop for Arena Series East takes place in Hampton, Virginia at the Hampton Colosseum. Last week at the Fargo Dome, Creole Crunch was able to get the overall, but will he be able to do it again? And can John Johnson and Terminal Velocity catch up with him? All this is coming up on this week's episode of Full Throttle.
Go! Got it tacked up, and if you get too close, you're getting cracked up. Stone cold when I'm home, coming out of the hole. Get back, cause I'm out of control.
We are here in Hampton, Virginia at the Hampton Colosseum, ready for a good battle, as all 8 of these trucks are going to battle it out for the overall. I'm your host, Douglas Morgan, here to call the action, and taking a look at the lineup of trucks we got, we have a pretty good lineup with Kyle Charna in Uproar, John Johnson in Terminal Velocity, Reilly, Flores in Gravedigger, Ryder, Belton in NOS Energy. Really, any of them can take the victory here tonight. We have racing up first, and let's get to the track. First race of round 1, we actually have Giustino, Tibaldo, and Creole Crunch versus K-King and Rodan. Lights are green in Hampton, but it looks like Rodan is having problems. This guy is on mobile, and he is having issues, and Creole Crunch is going in reverse, and he finishes the race like that. An interesting way to finish the race, but he wins the first race of round 1. Second race of round 1 is up next, and Ryder, Belton, and NOS Energy, and Reilly, Flores, and Gravedigger. Ryder, Belton, it looks like he jumps the start. He goes over the pod to get around Gravedigger and going back to his starting line. That will be an official call, and it looks like Ryder, Belton is disqualified, and Reilly, Flores is going into round 2. Little bit of a questionable race, but up next we actually have John Johnson in Terminal Velocity and Kodie, Walkowiak, and Zombie. Zombie clips the turning pod, and he will flip over. John Johnson in Terminal Velocity clears the race, and he will go into round 2. Taking a look at the Bendy Schemes replay, Kodie just barely touches that turn, and it flipped him over, causing the win for John Johnson in Terminal Velocity. Just really unfortunate circumstances for Kodie and burn victim Zombie. Final race of round 1, we actually have Kyle Charna in Uproar and Justin King in Shots Ready. Both had a good first turn, and then Shots Ready goes into the wall and just cannot turn that thing. It's the small things that can really mess you up in racing, and when you understeer the turn and hit the wall, it can cause a domino effect that causes you to mess up even more, and unfortunately, that's what happened for Shots Ready, and Kyle Charna in Uproar is going into the semifinals. Here we have Reilly, Flores, and Gravedigger going on against Creole Crunch. He's waiting at the starting line, just waiting for Creole Crunch to get to the line, but it looks like he's having connection issues. Keep in mind, if a driver cannot show up, that means they will advance on, but Creole Crunch does make it out of the tunnel and will make it to the line. I originally thought he was having issues, but Tibaldo is here. He's at the line. Reilly, Flores is ready, and we are going green to see who will be in the finals. Tibaldo with a slight lead going in the first turn. He gets to the line, and it will be Tibaldo and Creole Crunch. Really surprising win and very uncharacteristic for the Gravedigger team. Giustino, Tibaldo, and Creole Crunch will go into the finals. But who will be racing against, as we have John Johnson in Terminal Velocity and Kyle Charna in Uproar. They are at the line to see who will compete for the finals. John Johnson with a pretty good start and a pretty tight turn going against Uproar. Uproar gets a surprising win at the very last second. Taking a look at the Bendy Schemes replay, you can see Uproar gets a slight edge ahead of Terminal Velocity and just barely gets the win. Really surprising names at the final round this evening. Giustino, Tibaldo, and Creole Crunch, and Kyle Charna in Uproar. Right now, we are getting ready to see who will win the first 12 points of the evening. Creole Crunch did lose in the final round at Fargo, but don't count him out. This is the first time Uproar has appeared in the final round, and he will get the win. Creole Crunch gets another runner-up finish in racing, and Kyle Charna in Uproar will get the win, getting the first 12 points of the evening. Up next is the skills recap, and Kodie, Walkowiak, and Zombie. Due to issues, he wasn't able to run, so he will get a 0. So in 7th place, we actually have first up K-King and Rodan, and he looks like he was going for a sky wheelie, but because he's on mobile, he wasn't able to get it back up as he rocks it back and forth. Just couldn't get it done here in Hampton. In 6th place, we actually have Reilly, Flores, and Gravedigger. For his first move, he did a sky wheelie off of the pod, and he goes for a second move off of the 8-pack, and he does a popper. He tried to save it, but he couldn't get it done and goes on his roof. 5th place, we have Dustin, Tibaldo, and Creel Crunch. He was able to actually hold a stoppie, tries to walk it up the pod. You can see he's actually having pretty good control, but just letting gravity do the work. Not over-controlling the truck, just letting it ride. Really, as a driver, what you're trying to do is to get out of your head, because you realize that you are balancing this, and it can really mess you up big time if you lose focus. But right now, Justin Tibaldo is not losing focus. He's gonna try and do a popper. He does a popper off the pod, tries to get a combo back into a stoppie, but it didn't work out. Up next is Dustin King and Shots Ready, the brother of K King and Rodan. He does the same first hit as Gravedigger, but this time more successful. Got that wheelie across the pod, but he did go into the dumpsters. And doing the same second move as Gravedigger, where he does a moonwalk over the 8-pack, but he didn't get the pop that he wanted, and he lost control. Jumps over the pod in frustration as he goes into the tunnel. And in 3rd place now, we have Ryder, Belton, and Nas Energy setting up for a wheelie. Does a little wheelie on top of the pod. So far, we've seen that many times, so for his second move, he really needs to show what he's capable of. And he does the stoppie, doesn't get the pop, didn't do what he wanted to do, but Ryder, Belton, Nas Energy, 3rd place. As for 2nd place, we have Kyle, Charna, and Uproar. He sets up for the stoppie, he gets the stoppie, walks it across, and he gets the wheelie. He walks it up the hill right on top of the pod, and he touches down. That is a pretty good first hit for the skills run. As he's setting up for his second trick, he does the same thing where he gets a pop, but he's on his nose, and he wasn't able to get the pop that he wanted, and he hits the wall with his left rear. That will be the end of Uproar. And here's your official skills winner for Hampton, John Johnson and Terminal Velocity. And if you know anything about John Johnson so far from what I've seen in Arena Series East, he has good control over that Terminal Velocity monster truck. Just the balance and the control and the amount of nerves that he has to hold back, truly just incredible. As he walks it up the pod, goes onto his roof, and he was able to balance it once again. Gets a combo into a wheelie and into another stoppie. I don't even have words to say. Like, that's... Just look at that balance that he has. Truly incredible stuff that he's able to do. As for his second hit, he's taken a page out of Shots Fired in Gravedigger, and this time he is able to hold it. I truly am running out of things to say for this guy, as the amount of control that he has. Like, that's really all I can say. He's just that good. He's really up there with, like, the veterans, as he almost gets stuck on its front wheels. Nearly balances that perfectly. Reverses, wasn't able to combo it, but it didn't matter, as John Johnson, Terminal Velocity, your skills winner with an 18. That was your skills recap of the night, brought to you by Arena Pod Productions. Up first for Freestyle, we have Kodie Walkie Talkie in Burn Victim Zombie. He's not been doing too well in Hampton here tonight. He got last in skills, didn't really do well in racing. He's hoping for some redemption here in Freestyle. As he finds around the track for his first hit, he starts by going over the pod. Pretty good start, but... And he goes for another one as he lands on top of the tailgate, going in reverse... And he does a little wheelie, but didn't get much out of that. And he's lining up for the 8-pack very early on. Not even in the first 30 seconds, but he lands it. He then goes over the pod. Oh, he gets a little trouble. And he saves it, but that'll be an RII as they shut him off. And we're going to get the official call to see if he's going to be allowed to refire. And the call is he's going to be refired, but that is really going to hurt him in the score for the judges. Gets a sky wheelie, tries to do a moonwalk, and he goes into the wall, and he will not be able to save that, and he is done. Kodie Walkathon's hopes of redemption, not happening. Second competitor for Freestyle is K King and Rodan, ready to take his stab at this arena pod. Keep in mind that K King is on mobile for this event, so he is going to... he's going to do some interesting stuff, whether good or bad. As on mobile, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, people on controller, keyboard, whatever it may be, mobile has a little less control, as it's really difficult to handle. As you can see, he's really struggling to turn that thing. Of course, he's going to try to power through as we go down to just 1 minute on the timer. First person to make it past 30 seconds. And he hits the dumpsters. You can see he's really struggling. King and Rodan. Oh, he gets a save. This is what I said. He's either going to do some amazing stuff or really bad stuff, but that really worked out in his favor. As he tries to get a moonwalk, he didn't get anything out of it. But as you may know from running an LOMJT or maybe just ROMJ in general, it's the unexpected stuff that can really shoot you to the top of the leaderboard. As he gets a popper, aside from a few hits out there, he's mostly trying to play it safe, just trying to get that clock down to 0. And he's turning around. He's going to go over the arena pod again. Does a sky wheelie, goes into the dumpsters. That's a trend here tonight where drivers just don't know how to stop and they go into the dumpsters and he's going to roll it over on top of his lid. Looking at the Bendy Schemes replay, King and Rodan, he had a good run going, especially for a mobile. He did go into the dumpsters a little bit, which slowed him down and possibly may even lowered his score. But this save right here, this save was completely by accident, but it really saved him. Saving King from disappointment and really announcing his presence. Up next, we actually have Reilly, Flores, and Gravedigger. If we know anything about the Gravedigger team, they are really dominant in LOM. And this guy, Reilly Flores, he's a veteran, and he is here in Hampton, and he rolls over onto his lid. Very uncharacteristic of the Gravedigger team, but that does happen. A very rare mistake by the Gravedigger team. Reilly Flores didn't make 30 seconds, so he won't get a score, and he will get last place from now. Up next, we actually have Giustino, Tibaldo, and Creole Crunch. Right now, he's lining up for the 8-pack. He does the backflip. He lands it perfectly. That's a very interesting first hit, especially in arenas. I heard about that in stadiums, but never arenas. As he does his really what he's known for. He does like sky wheelies, like does those big jumps over the pod, almost reaching the Jumbotron. And right now, he's just trying to really build time. As right now, he's like 5 seconds away from a minute, so he will get a score once that timer reaches 60. But he's trying to find his own piece of redemption, as he's been runner-up in racing 2 times in this past point series. He's just trying to really see what he can do in freestyle. And right now, he's actually doing good, just not going too crazy, just trying to play it safe. Perhaps he's trying to file the clock down and really go crazy in the final 30 seconds as he clears the pod, goes in reverse. Same thing as Kodie Walkie-Talkie and Burn Victim Zombie. He gets a little stoppy onto one wheel, but he saves it. Sky wheelie, as we've seen multiple times. And he lines up for the backflip again. He does the backflip, gets kind of like a corkscrew as he gets into the final 30 seconds. Goes over the pod, turns it around, going for that log ramp, launches it up, and he hits the wall. Final 10 seconds to really make an impression on the judges. One final sky wheelie for good measure. Tibaldo absolutely does not care that he has final 5 seconds, and he goes for the backflip again, and he lands it for the 3rd time. That'll be a really big contender for the freestyle competition. Looking at the Bendy Schemes replay, Giustino Tibaldo, he does a bunch of sky wheelies over the pod. You can see that's a really beautiful shot. But the main part of the freestyles are the backflips, and he lands this one perfectly. For this run, he will get a 16.5, blasting into the lead. And we're going to see if Ryder, Belton, and NOS Energy can take him down. I've seen this guy before in stadiums. He's a really good driver, but the only thing holding him back is his truck. And we're going to see if that truck will work with him here in Hampton. As he starts the clock, he jumps over the pod, goes into the dumpsters, nearly going into the tunnel. Does a massive sky wheelie over to the pod. One thing I really want to comment on about this truck is the body design. I've seen him run the Humvee design before, but I really love the pickup truck as he goes over the pod. Just trying to fill time. does a massive sky wheelie. The main thing that you want to do is not go too big very early on, because that can really mess you up. As he continues to go over the pod, one thing I do want to say is that he is now in the final 60 seconds, so he will qualify for a score. Goes for the backflip. That was the cleanest backflip I've ever seen here in this event here tonight. Nearly goes into the tunnel again. Sky wheelie. Ryder Belton just on a roll here tonight in Hampton. Nearly does a one-wheel stoppie. That was a bit sketchy. Goes over the pod, he walks it over on top of the pod. The second backflip, gets a corkscrew, he lands on his right side, but he saves it. He recovers. So far, a pretty good run. He's in the final 30 seconds, and he goes for a third backflip, hits the wall. That'll hurt him in judging. If you hit the wall or the dumpsters, that'll really hell you back into the scores. He does the sky wheel, he gets the stoppie, goes into reverse, just looking for that final finishing move. He has one final move. He sends that NOS energy machine to the moon, and he gets into a stoppie. That'll be it for his freestyle, but oh my, what a run to take down Giustino, Tibaldo, and Creel Crunch. As we look at the replay, he mostly does sky wheelies, as that's mostly like a filler move. Is he goes for the backflip. That was the cleanest backflip. He goes for the second backflip. And we can't forget this last move where he does a sky wheelie and into a stoppie and goes in reverse. And he gets a 16, second place behind Creel Crunch. That I don't know if I agree with that, because that was a way better run. Yeah, a little bit of controversy with the scoring, but up next we have Dustin King and Shots Ready, the brother of K King and Rodan. Shots Ready just absolutely blasted out of the tunnel. Honestly, we haven't really seen that much where you just go into the arena and start your freestyle immediately. I never seen that much. So that's a really interesting way to start off a freestyle. But right now Dustin King and Shots Ready is just absolutely killing it out there. Hits a side, does a little cross thread onto the arena pod. He does it again on the other side. Really interesting way to really hit the arena pod. So far, not a whole lot of things that we've seen as he rides the wall. Sends it just like a little... That looks like a flip, like something that a motocross rider would do. He hits the wall. That'll really hurt him in judging as he does a donut. Again, I keep saying that you shouldn't hit the wall, but really, if you want to mess up your own scores, you can do that. But he's lining up for the backflip. Really short backflip. He nearly doesn't land that. Hits the wall again, does reverse cross thread. Yeah, it seems like he doesn't know when to stop for the walls as he goes into the dumpsters. Dustin King and Shots Ready. He may not have installed brakes onto his truck, but he for sure knows how to put on a good show and is full of surprises. Looking at the replay, he put on a pretty good freestyle to combat Creel Crunch. He does that little side flipped kick thingy. I don't know what you call it. But Dustin King's downfall was not knowing where the walls were and going into the dumpsters. As we get the score, his score will be a 15. Pretty good for arenas, but not up there towards the top. But up next, we actually have Charna and Uproar, the winner of racing. And if you look closely onto his chassis, he has a shorter wheelbase than the other trucks. We'll see if that plays into his favor. It really helped him out in racing, and so far, every other event. Last weekend in Fargo, North Dakota, he actually got 4th in overall, so we'll see if he can really place higher in the point standings, as every point matters. Right now, he's just trying to continue with his freestyle. He has 7 seconds to make it towards 60 seconds, so he will qualify for a score. And he will qualify for a score, so no matter what now, he will get a score. He gets a stoppie, and he combos it into a wheelie. One thing that has to be noted about the shorter wheelbase chassis is that even if it's ever so slightly easier, it can help you out in two-wheel. And it doesn't matter what truck you have, really, as long as you can balance it, which he can do in this shorter wheelbase, then really anything would happen. Charna goes for the cross thread. He gets a stoppie on the side of the pod, and he gets a combo. That was one of the weirdest moves I've ever seen. I never seen anybody do that from the side of the pod before. As he lines up for the backflip, sends it full throttle to the backflip, he gets a corkscrew. He lands it though, and he has 17 more seconds to make an impression on the judges. He gets a wheelie, and he balances it on the tailgate right on top of that ramp. That's an incredible move by Kyle Charna. He's going crazy right now, just trying to fill that time. One more move, and what is he going to do? He sends it, and he is done. That is the end of Kyle Charna and Uproar's freestyle, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care that the scores are in, and he crashes it on top of the pod. What a run! As we look at the replay, we can see that Kyle Charna and Uproar just sending it to the moon. He doesn't care what his truck does or what he does, as long as he gets a good score. And right here, you can just see he balances it on the tailgate. That was an impressive move right there. And he will get a 19.5, your new leader in Hampton. But can we see if John Johnson and Terminal Velocity take him down? If you know anything about this guy, he is awesome with two-wheel skills. He is lining up for the backflip. He does another corkscrew. Sends it over the pod, clears the pod. But as I was saying, John Johnson, really, if you look at him out there, he's really up there with the veterans of LOMJT. If you look at his skills runs and then look at the veterans, you really cannot tell the difference. But we'll see if that can translate over into arena freestyle. And he gets a stoppie, but he didn't get much out of it. Sends it. He gets a stoppie again. If you just look at this guy, he's really full of surprises. He gets a one-wheel wheelie after that little reverse move. But last weekend in Fargo, John Johnson and Terminal Velocity had a really good showing, only losing in round 1 of racing, which really set him down in the points. But he's really good in skills and freestyle, as he shows by sending it over the pod over and over. He has 8 seconds before he gets into the final 30 seconds. And he sends it over. He enters the final 30 seconds. Let's see what he can do now. As he goes over to the pod, does another kick flip, kind of like what Shots Ready did. Reverses over the arena pod, and he's lining up for the backflip. Sends it over, and he lands it. Probably the second cleanest backflip of the night. Does a sky wheelie. That was a pretty good shot right there. Getting a little sideways in the air, he lands on the left tires, but he recovers. Right now, he has one final move to make an impression on the judges, and he goes over in reverse, and he does a cartwheel front flip over to the pod, and he lands it. We'll see if that can take over the lead as we look into the Bendy Schemes replay. You can see that his run is filled with absolutely creative moments, so by going in reverse, doing backflips, this run really did have everything, along with good momentum. And you can see this little kick flip that he does, and he lands it into a stop. He reverses over the pod. One of the most creative moves that I've ever seen out of any arena series ever. Scores are in. John Johnson and Terminal Velocity will get a 21 in freestyle. Your winner for freestyle here in Hampton. Now let's look at the results. Looking at the overall leaderboard, we can see we actually have a tie for overall. Kyle Charna and Uproar, and John Johnson and Terminal Velocity. But because Kyle Charna and Uproar got to 22 points first, John Johnson had to beat him, but he didn't. Kyle Charna didn't have the best of luck here in Hampton, but it was all worth it in the end as he takes the overall. And that is going to conclude today's episode of Full Throttle. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe. I'm Douglas Morgan, your host of today's episode of Full Throttle, and we will see you on the next episode.